I'm going. My name is Roger Sharman. I've done several of these feedbacks before. The date now is 30th. Sorry, 28th, 26th of August 2019. I've done a few other books similar to this. My views are still the same as when I spoke before. Unfortunately, I don't seem to get many viewers or listeners, but anyway, it's one of those things. Perhaps my views, not everyone's cup of tea. Anyway, I am a prominent citizen of this UK. I was born and bred here. I've always lived in the UK. I've been on holiday to other countries, quite a few, which most of them I like, but I would never leave this country and live abroad. I'm an advent conservative supporter, though I have voted. I'm quite a patriotic person, so other patriotic parties, which are probably more patriotic than the Conservatives or Labour and the Liberals, would be the BNP or Britain First, but I won't go into that for now. What I'm most concerned about now is that the British people's view on Brexit is followed and that we do leave the EU as soon as possible. That's why at the moment I'm supporting Boris Johnson to do what he said he would do and leave, either with a deal or no deal. It doesn't matter to me. We're a great country and we'll carry on being a great country, even if we're not part of the EU anymore. I have made my views known to the Conservatives over things like immigration. I still think they're too soft on immigration, and not just from East European, but from other countries around the world, particularly the third world countries like Africa, Asia, etc. I know that Boris Johnson said we need people with good qualifications and good experience, but what is wrong with trying to train our own people? There's a lot of competent people in this country, a lot of competent students who can't find a job. Why can't we give them a chance? Why can't these companies train them in the various skills which they need? I know through my working life, I've always found it difficult to get work because the first thing they seem to ask you, have you got experience? But how do you get experience in the first place if they're not prepared to train? So it's Boris's view that we should have a certain amount of immigration, but what's wrong with putting our own people first and let them be trained? Then, if there's any vacancies, we can start importing to a limited extent immigrants from other countries. But that is my views, and I don't think I'll ever change on that. Another view of mine is that we are now, this obviously relates to immigration, too much allowing people of Muslim belief to have too many influences in this country. Mosques are springing up all over the place, and I think there should be a limit on them. We are basically a Christian country, even though I'm an atheist myself. We should allow the British people to practice their religion and not be overcome by radical Muslims, which I think will happen to this country in the future, unless there's some kind of block being put on it by the politicians today, which they don't look like they're going to do. This is one of the reasons why I have followed the BNP and Britain First in the past, and even UKIP, and now the Brexit Party. But my heart normally belongs to the Conservatives because they're the party most likely to bring about these things. So obviously it'll be on the right of the Conservative Party and not on the left wing, which to my mind should join the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats, if that's the way they view things. Another big bone of mine, which I brought up before, is the complete biasness of our media these days, which tends to be left-wing bias, particularly bodies like the BBC. The BBC is paid for by licence players, so they should take a neutral attitude towards what they show on their programmes, but they don't. They're always completely left-wing biased. And I've noticed also that all their newsreaders nearly all seem to be Asian or Asian women. what's wrong with white British men, or middle age or later middle age? They seem to be kicked out now in their own country. They don't seem to be able to get a job with people like the BBC, who are run by lefties. And why is the BBC a lefty organisation? Because they're taught that at universities they go to. Nearly all professors now at universities have left-wing bias. You can only see that by the comments they make about Brexit and other things. The old-fashioned professors, which took a neutral stance on things, seem to be pushed aside or resigned or retired, and now we've just got a bunch of lefties who've taken over their place, which is a pity, I'm sorry to say. I mean, I know personally a professor, I won't name any names, who has left-wing, more communist views, yet his father was a conservative councillor. It's ridiculous. So the Conservative Party has a lot of things to do to, try to rectify these wrongs, which I think are wrong at the moment. They need to make it quite clear to these universities that they must have teachers and professors who have a neutral stance, not weighed one way or the other. And otherwise, organisations like the BBC will carry on having left-wing views and left-wing leaders trying to get the population as a whole to pick up what their views are and become more of a left-wing country, which will be a disaster. I'm glad to say that the ordinary British people, certainly the working class anyway, do not fall to this. They normally try to have views which are similar to mine. I mean, it tends to be the middle class, better educated university graduates and ex-university graduates who tend to have these more left-wing socialist views, which follow the view of someone like Jeremy Corbyn, who himself is from a middle class, quite a rich background. And also I noticed that some of these Labour ministers, despite the fact that they preach that we should send their children to to government schools, tend to send their kids to private educated schools. What more hypocrisy can you have than that? Having said all that, I was a Labour supporter in the past. I voted for Tony Blair in 1997, but I didn't vote for him again after that. I voted for UKIP or lately the Conservatives, and I can't see myself ever voting for Labour again. As I said, I come from a working class background. My father was a carpenter, my mother was a housewife, as they were in those days. They didn't go out to work, the women. They stayed behind, looked after the kids. I was one of 5 kids, and I don't think we've done too bad out of it. We were quite poor, though we didn't think that at the time. We were quite happy doing the simple things which we did. But I'm glad that kids, working class kids today, can get a better education, go to university and improve themselves. I think if I was a youngster today, I certainly would have done that. But you can also improve yourself by reading, thinking about things, and trying to, listen to people who have got good knowledge on these things. Anyway, I won't go any much further now. I normally keep myself to around about 9 or 10 minutes in these discussions. I'm always glad to get feedback, whether it's positive or negative. You can always leave your comments. I like to, widen the debate, especially from youngsters. If you look at this broadcast, I'll be anxious to hear what your comments are. I have a young daughter myself who is now 24. She's a university graduate and works for the government Department of Transport, and I'm very proud of what she's doing. But anyway, thank you for listening, and speak to you again very soon, hopefully. Bye for now.